So probably in about 5 to 10 sessions, I think the campaign I'm doing will be over, and we'll be moving on to Cyberpunk setting. The players voted on it. I gave them some options, and that's kind of what we came to. So it's a little more rambly, but I want to kind of, like I did with my intro, like kind of brought up about my last campaign. I had some goals in mind going into that campaign, so I want to kind of set that up for this as well. So right off the top of my head, there's kind of three that I want to focus on as far as like goals of this Cyberpunk campaign and like me as a DM and how I want to run it and what are my goals from running it and like things that I'm going to focus on as I'm DMing it towards those goals. So the first one's going to be lore. I don't think any of my players have played in Cyberpunk aside from the video games or the show. Um, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, and the goal is to keep everything within relatively within Night City. Just because that's where all most of the lore is, that's where all the gangs are, that's where the corporations are, and I think at least for this, that setting works best. And so I'm going to focus on that. Everything within that is going to be the lore I'm working off of. I want the grittiness of that setting. I want the hopelessness of that setting. I want the utter mayhem and fucked up extra, shit going on in that setting. Now, it might get a little darker than this last one, which this one got a little dark, but I think the cyberpunk setting could be a lot darker. So, lore, that's kind of where we're falling into, and I want to keep it very much that dark, gritty, fucked up city. Um, the other one I want to focus on is Legends. The At least in the video game, and I don't know so much about the RPG. I'm still going to be reading through that. Um, the hero's goals are to become legendary. They are to make a name for themselves, make money, and exist in the system without playing by the system's rules. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to limit my players to, not following the law or anything, but making the world feel like it's something that should be fought against, or at least the city, to, to scrape and claw your way up. And then the reward for that should be you feel like a badass or you are a badass. So, in this, cool moments in my mind should happen all the time. Um, there's a reason that these, at least in the game, drinks were made after people. It's like homage to these people. They're legendary. That's kind of what I want. I want the moments for my players to feel legendary. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen right off the bat, but it means in my mind when I'm making the campaign, I need to allow for that to be there. In the beginning, it might not be that way. They might not be legends, but going into the mid, later game, or even a couple sessions in, depending on how they play, they could be. And I want that to have an effect on their mood, the mayhem in the game, who they piss off. If they become utter badasses in how they play, that should roll out into the world. And that leads into sort of my next um, thing, ripples. So the video game, it's a video game, so it doesn't have the same effect that you can have with an RPG, or like D&D, for example, or a pen and paper, where I can write down all the effects that my players have in the world and actually put them in there after they've done them. I don't have to write them into how the game is made. So same thing as my last one. I want the effects of my characters' actions, my players' actions, to ripple into the world. You know, if they come across a guy, and they might not know this, but they kill this guy, and he happens to be in the Tiger Claws, or he happens to work for somebody that's important in a corporation, they might get on that person's watch list. Night City's huge. A lot of people may be tied to certain things. Now, that doesn't always mean everybody will be, but killing that person may create an issue. Pissing off a certain person may create that issue. So, I think that once again, sort of like my last campaign, that's kind of what I want to do. Now, some thoughts that I have going into the setting. No named. I'm not going to have any named people from like the video game. So no Johnny Silverhand. No, no named people. This is going to be its own version of Night City. The reason I can't do that is because if Johnny Silverhand's in there, then Rogue has to be in there. So I avoid any of that going into this. Um, Setting wise, I'm going to basically allow what's in the setting. So, there might not be, like a rocket scientist as a playable background, right? It's, within reason, the players will be able to do something, but I'd like to keep them into the cyberpunk's settings backgrounds, right? A solo or a fucking rocker boy. Because the more I have the settings names on the sheets and in the players' minds, the more immersed they will be in the world. So that's another thing. Using the lingo, using eddies, using gong, using chumba, those or chum, using those will make the interactions better. If I can, and that's something I'm going to have to work on. I'm going to have to, add that lingo and language into my role play with my players because I want them to be immersed. Another thing I'm going to have to worry about is all of the augmentations and the chrome you can get and how that's going to affect rules. So I have to write a whole sheet up on that and how it affects my one-page rule set. And how I'm going to integrate that in the system. And cyberpsychosis. I want cyberpsychosis to be scary in this game. I don't think I'm going to tell my players where their threshold is. It's going to be based on stats, but I don't think it should be tied to background. I don't think it should be tied to any of that. I also feel that the cyberpsychosis in the RPG was, of course, haven't even read very deep yet, but it feels sort of like an alignment system. Like, you start doing fucked up shit because you have a god complex because you're chrome fucking out. You go fucking crazy, and it sort of almost feels like that settings like version of an alignment. It stops murder hobos. Now, obviously, still going to read into it. This is literally just me talking about some goals going into this and how I want to set this up. So then next, we're going to go into like my session goals. They're pretty much the same as last ones that I had. I want to have my players, everybody participate. I want everybody to have fun. I want their actions to come up to keep story pacing. Now this one's going to be a little different. This is going to be a little more modern. So the things could be a little more complex. So I don't know how I will roll with my players yet. The intrigue in the world could be a little deeper. And there probably will be a little more adult themes in this one. We get into little adult themes in my other one, but this one could be a little more graphic. So I'm not even sure how I'm going to work with this and streaming it. It depends on how rowdy we get. I may just stream it, but I may have to like private some of the stuff or like go and like turn the mic on or off at certain points when stuff gets a little spicy. So but I want all of that to still be there. And once again, I think each session, um, I want to pick a badass moment that happened and put it on the YouTube channel in like little shorts, like kind of how I do the plot twist, but just like legendary moment, a legendary action or something where I can throw it up there and then, my players get recognized for the cool shit that they're doing. Because once again, that constant reoccurring thing where hey, you're a badass if you earn it, and should encourage more role play, and it should encourage them to get more immersed in the world. And that's what I want. So those things for the session, and then my overall goals. Now, what do I got to do to get there? I need to read the whole Cyberpunk RPG book at some point within the next probably 2 months, and I need to start writing up my grandiose plots and schemes. And then I need to find a good map of Night City because I'd like to have it on the wall because that's going to be more important in a modern city context when we're playing because there's going to be a lot of traveling. I mean, who knows if the players are even going to have vehicles to start out with. Wouldn't it be fun them getting riding on the bus system and having to fucking have a gang fight on the bus? So um, that's kind of what I'm going to do. So I have to do that. I have to read the book. I have to get a map. I want to get some more like cyberpunk stuff. I already got some LED lights up there, but I want to get a couple. It would be sick to have some neon signs of some old like closed down businesses that I can hang on the wall, just to like lower the lights, have the neon going and the LEDs above it. And then I don't know what we're gonna do with the terrain because all the terrain we have is kind of medievally. But we'll figure that out along the way. But he's got a 3D printer. Maybe he'll 3D print me some stuff. So, but that's my goals going into my Cyberpunk campaign and kind of what I'm planning for it going forward. So, thank you.